G'day, welcome to the program. I'm David Lipson. A packed show today with Steve Chobo, Mark Dreyfus and the Communications Minister Malcolm Turnbull, who joins me now in the studio. I want to start with this story about the audit into the National Broadband Network. It's a taxpayer-funded audit which has found that Labor's NBN was rushed, chaotic and inadequate. Now, this was a backward-looking audit. It doesn't look at the current state of the NBN, what you're tasked with implementing. Why not?
Well, the task that was given to Bill Scales, who I might say is one of Australia's most respected and experienced public servants, someone who has conducted inquiries and studies for governments of both political persuasion. So the Labor Party's described him as a Liberal mate. That is completely untrue. Would have been news to Julia Gillard, who had him on the Gonski panel. In any event, the purpose of this review was to look at the policy formation process. You know, how did this gigantic project be conceived and announced? How on earth did it happen?
And what did you take out of it?
Well, what it takes out, what Scales is, he's told the story. It's a very good report. It's succinct. It's very well written, and it was basically put together in about 11 weeks. A $43 billion commitment. There was no business case, no cost-benefit analysis, utterly inadequate technical advice. It was just a ramshackle, reckless excursion which has cost the nation tens of billions of dollars, and it's caused the mess that I'm currently responsible for cleaning up.
Will you adopt all of the recommendations?
Well, that's a matter for government, for the cabinet, and we'll obviously consider them. But they're very sound recommendations, and indeed they're consistent with common sense and in fact, in large part, with our existing policy. I mean, he recommends, for example, that large public sector infrastructure projects with costs above $1 billion should be subject to a cost-benefit analysis. Well, our policy is that projects in excess of $100 million should be subject to cost-benefit analysis.
He also, just on that, does recommend that they be publicly released, the analysis.
Yes.
And the Coalition has not committed to that, has not done.
Well, the cost-benefit analysis, I think that's a very good argument, that they should be made, a cost-benefit analysis should be public, and that's something that I think we should all recognise, because of course a cost-benefit analysis that is not made public, I mean, there may sometimes be, and there generally will be actually, some very commercially sensitive material that you may not want to make public, but the guts of it, the bulk of it, should be made public so that the public understand what the government is doing with their money, and also, frankly, the importance of making things public. One of the important factors behind open government is that it makes people more accountable and responsible. You know, it's one thing to write a report if you think nobody's going to read it in the public, but if you know it's going to be out there and it's going to be subject to scrutiny by people like yourself and others, then that will, I think, get a higher standard of professionalism and diligence.
Because it hasn't just been Labor that's skipped the cost-benefit analysis process in the past. For example, when you were Environment Minister, the $10 billion water plan didn't go to Cabinet, and more recently the paid parental leave scheme from Tony Abbott, which was described as a captain's choice. It bypassed Cabinet process and cost-benefit analyses.
Well, the paid parental leave scheme was approved by the shadow Cabinet, although it is fair to say that the leader of the opposition, as he then was, Mr Abbott, made it pretty clear what he wanted. But I have to say that that is a policy that we took to 2 elections, and including the one that we just won. It has been scrutinised by the Productivity Commission. I mean, PC had a few criticisms to make of it, frankly, but we have a clear mandate for it. And I might say it's not infrastructure. I mean, it's a social policy, it's very important, a lot of money, but it's not a public sector infrastructure project, which is what Scales is talking about here.
Well, there are billions in the pipeline for roads projects, clearly infrastructure that this government has put in place, and they haven't been subjected to a cost-benefit analysis in all cases.
They will be. The commitment is that all of our projects will be subject to cost-benefit analysis. That is our policy. There's no doubt about that.
I just want to look at the anti-terror laws that will be...
anti-terrorism laws.
Terrorism laws.
As a dog lover, I would be totally opposed to anti-terrier laws. In fact, I own a terrier.
I would too. But
only one time.
Cabinet will look at these today. One of the things that we hear is going to be probably approved is the retention of metadata for at least 2 years. Should internet companies, do you think, be reimbursed for any additional costs that would be imposed upon them of those laws?
Well, these are all matters that are, you're asking me to speculate about, to comment on something that's been written in the press, speculating on what might be announced. But so I won't do that, other than to say that obviously, these are important issues, and the issues of cost and cost sharing is something that would be taken up. But I can't really take it any further. I just say watch this space. Keep watching Sky, everybody, and you'll no doubt find out when it's announced. Because
on the piracy laws, a separate issue, you have said there's no persuasive argument for internet providers to bear the cost of anti-piracy measures.
But I don't know that I went quite that far.
I think that is a direct quote.
I think I said I wasn't. I just said I didn't find it. I didn't find the argument that the ISP should bear all the costs particularly persuasive. But anyway, but go on.
Are they unwitting facilitators, though, as George Brandis suggests?
Well, I suppose if you can't download a bootleg movie unless you've got an internet connection, but equally you can't make your getaway from robbing a bank unless there's a road and you've got a car. The big issue, the issue with piracy, and I've blogged about this yesterday. I'd encourage people to have a look at my website and read about it in some detail. And I'd also encourage everyone to go to the Australian Attorney General's website, ag.gov.au, read the discussion paper and make a submission. Copyright consultation at ag.gov.au is the address. Please do that. We want to know what you think. Now, the bottom line is this. Piracy is a big issue. A lot of people will seem to think that in the internet world, stuff that you would normally pay for, DVDs, CDs and songs, movies, you can just swipe online for free. And so that is devastating for people in the creative sector. It's not just, rich moguls, movie stars. It's all the people that work in the creative sector. So the question is, what is the right set of measures that will ensure that there is less piracy, that we reduce it, and that we ideally eliminate it, but that's probably a bit optimistic, we'll reduce it, and in so doing, ensure that people in the creative sector get a fair go.
Minister, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks a lot, David.